Hello, my name is Dylan, and this is my walkaway story. Um, so, I didn't really get interested in politics until probably the end of my senior year in high school, and even then, it was just a little bit. It was mostly just listening to Rage Against the Machine and System of a Down, and the premise was George Bush bad, right? Well, as I got out of high school, I was smoking a lot of pot. I was playing in some bands. I had a few girlfriends. Um, I remember distinctly one of my girlfriend's parents. Uh, they were very, very liberal, and they used to talk a lot of trash about Republicans. And I thought they were cool, and I thought they were pretty smart. So I kind of went along with it, and I kind of absorbed some of that. Mm. I voted for Obama his first time around because I thought it was exciting to vote for the first black president. And, I remember overhearing some of his speeches. He spoke really eloquently and said some things that seemed really, really nice. He said, this country can be home for Muslims too. And I agreed with that, and I still agree with that. Um, I didn't vote for Obama the second time around just because I started to feel like I didn't know enough about the policy issues to to be voting on them, because I didn't want to vote for something that would be counterproductive because I was voting from a place of ignorance. In 2013-14, I created a Facebook, and a lot of my friends were, in musicians. They were in the music scene, and most of them were all left leaning. I don't think I knew any Republicans. Um, So I started following pages like Now This and Vox and Huffington Post and maybe The Guardian and Bernie Sanders, um, MSNBC, CNN, and they all basically said the same thing. Republicans, racist, warmongers who don't care about the poor, and Democrats did care about the poor and did care about minorities and world peace and everything. Well, I wanted to vote for Bernie Sanders in 2016. And when he got cheated out of the election, I remember being very, very angry. And I remember once trying to have a conversation with my grandpa about politics. And I told him that I was a socialist. And he got a little bit offended and tried to tell me, I don't think you know what socialism is. And I was like, of course I do. Socialism just means that we as a society take care of each other, and that we stick up to the greedy rich, and we make sure that we take care of the poor, and it's the government giving you nice things. And he tried to point out to me that socialism has been tried all over, and it's failed because it doesn't take into account um, human nature, and that people aren't going to work if the fruits of their labor is just going to be taken from them and given to somebody else, and people are just going to try to live off the government. And I don't remember exactly what I said because I wasn't really listening. All I thought was, these old people are so ignorant, they don't understand. Their ignorance is so bad that it makes them bad people. And I remember getting so angry and storming out, and I remember just feeling gross, feeling ugly, feeling bitter. And when Donald Trump won, I wasn't a Trump supporter, but I felt a secret uh, enjoyment out of it, seeing Hillary Clinton lose, because I felt like the Democrats were just so corrupt and they had just cheated. And, you know, I started I got a job as a touring drummer, and I was traveling around the country, and I was sitting in a van for about 8 to 14 hours a day, several days a week. So I started listening to conservative thinkers because I wanted to know. I saw everyone freaking out about Donald Trump, and I wanted to know what was so bad. And I started looking at some of the policies, and a lot of them kind of made sense to me. We need operational control of our border, not because we don't want to help people around the world. America's actually a very generous place, but because we need to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves first, and we need to be able to decide who comes in and out and how many and when, and and that we should have a business climate that is competitive with other countries around the world. Because if we try to tax them at 90%, and we try to force a $15 minimum wage, and we try to force environmental regulations like the Green New Deal and everything else, that these wealthy companies can afford to just move to other countries where they don't have to do all these things, and they can accumulate wealth. And why would they stay here and pay 90% in a corporate tax rate when they could go anywhere else and come out with innovations and job opportunities in other places? And then I started listening to a lot of conservative and libertarian philosophers and thinkers, Thomas Sowell, Milton Friedman, Larry Elder, Ben Shapiro. I spent some time listening to what Jordan Peterson had to say. And, I never stopped following people on the left. And, there's still some issues that are considered left-wing issues that I'd be curious about, like universal health care and legalizing marijuana. But when the identity politics stuff really came in full force, it's become really scary. And I feel like these people are just so angry and so vicious, and they just want to tear apart our country. They don't have anything good to say about our country. And yeah, we've had our sins, and we haven't always lived up to the ideals as set forth in the Declaration of Independence and in the Constitution. But when I look at some of the other countries around the world, the runners up to global dominance, none of them have made as much progress in the realms of liberal values and civil rights as the United States. And I genuinely believe that if we don't put America first, that if we don't have a strong military, that if we're not a wealthy country that people want to invest in and do business in, and that if our culture loses its will to defend ourselves, then if we become a second-rate country to some of these other world powers, China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, that would be a terrible day for human rights. That would be a terrible day for liberal values. And so that's kind of my walkaway story. And recently I've become a little more vocal. I got offered a job as a talk show host on an AM radio station, and I decided to start my own media company to help kind of diffuse some of the radical elements on both sides, particularly on the left, but on both sides. And I want to host a place where people can have open dialogues about political philosophy and not be judged or castigated as bad people for disagreeing. And so I started a website. It's called the Liberty Revolt Media at www.libertyrevoltmedia.com. I got a Facebook page, facebook.com/Liberty Revolt Media, where I've been pumping out articles, and I'm producing other content in between the radio shows and trying to get everything going. We just started, and I'm looking for help with coming up with media content. So if anybody feels like they have something profound to say about the cultural issues or political philosophy, please contact me and let me know. Send me what you got, and as long as it's not totally egregious, I'll probably put it up. But that's my walkaway story. Thank you so much for listening. Have a nice day.